Have you ever noticed that your mind is often much louder than the situation you are actually dealing with? Maybe your boss sends you a message saying, "Can we talk tomorrow?" Nothing else, just one sentence. And within a few minutes, your mind has already created 10 different stories. Did I make a mistake? Am I in trouble? Did I say something wrong? What if I am about to lose my job? Now, here is something interesting. The message never said any of those things. Your own mind did. Can I tell you something that completely changed the way I look at overthinking? I used to believe that overthinking happened because I cared too much. But now I think something different. I think overthinking happens because our mind hates unanswered questions. It would rather give us a wrong answer than no answer at all. And that is why it starts filling in the blanks. The problem is dash. That is, it usually fills in those blanks with fear. Now let me ask you something. How many times have you spent hours worrying about something and only to realize later that it never happened? Maybe it was a medical report, maybe it was a difficult conversation, maybe it was an interview, or maybe it was waiting for someone to reply to your message. Think about it calmly. Just pause for a second and put pressure on your mind that when exactly that situation arose. So how much time have you spent suffering over things that existed only in your imagination? I'm not asking this to make you feel bad. I'm asking because I want you to see something. Overthinking doesn't just steal your peace, it steals your time, it steals your energy, it steals your ability to enjoy what's happening right in front of you. And the strange thing is, most overthinkers are incredibly responsible people, very responsible people. They care deeply. They don't want to make mistakes. They are very, very strict with themselves. They don't want to disappoint people. They want to get things right. So if you are an overthinker, I don't want you to think there is something wrong with you. I don't think you are broken. I think your mind has simply developed a habit. And like every habit, this can also be changed. But of course, this change would not happen overnight, but one small step at a time. Now, can I ask you to try something with me? Think about the biggest thing you are worrying about today, right now. Pause for a second, just one thing. Now ask yourself this question. What do I actually know for sure? Not what you fear, not what you are imagining, not what your mind keeps repeating, but what do you know for certain? You'll probably notice something surprising. The facts are usually very small. Maybe your boss asked to meet you, that's a fact. Maybe someone hasn't replied to your message yet, that's a fact. Everything else beyond that is the story your mind has added. And here is something I have learned about, after talking to so many people, that our mind is a brilliant storyteller, but it is not always a reliable reporter. Sometimes it tells you stories that protect us, sometimes it tells stories that frighten us. The problem begins when we stop asking, is this a fact? And start believing every story as if it's true. That's why I want to give you one simple habit today. Every time you catch yourself overthinking, don't ask, how do I stop thinking? Because you cannot. Your brain would think. That's what it's designed to do. Instead, ask, am I dealing with facts or am I dealing with a story? That one question has saved me from hours of unnecessary stress. Because once you separate the facts from the story, your mind starts becoming quieter. It will not happen immediately, but gradually. And that's all we are aiming for. Not perfection, just a little more peace than yesterday. Now, before we go ahead, can I ask you something? What's the one situation you are overthinking right now? Don't write the whole story, just write one sentence in the comments section. I would really like to know because it helps me understand what people are struggling with, and maybe someone reading your comment will realize that they are not alone. And if you enjoy these honest conversations where we take everyday struggles and make them simpler to understand, I would love for you to subscribe to Diviine Gracia. Every week we'll have conversations like this, not to make life perfect, but to make it little lighter one step at a time. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake almost every overthinker makes, because once you see it, you will never look at your thoughts in the same way again. Okay, so coming to part 2. Thanks for being here. So let's continue with our previous discussion. And I'm going to talk about the mistake most overthinkers never notice. So can I tell you something that took me a long time to understand? So overthinkers usually believe they are solving a problem. That's why they keep thinking. And they tell themselves, if I just think about this a little more, I'll finally find the answer. Have you ever done that? You've replayed the same conversation 20 times. You have imagined every possible outcome. You have thought about what you should have said, what you could say, what might happen tomorrow, and somehow you still don't feel any better. In fact, you usually feel worse. Why? Because overthinking often gives us the feeling that we are making progress, when in fact we are actually standing in the same place. Now let me explain what I mean. Imagine you are sitting in a rocking chair. You are moving all the time, forward, backward. It feels like you are doing something. But when you get up, you are exactly where you started. I think overthinking is little like that. Your mind stays busy, it feels productive, but very often nothing has actually changed. Now don't misunderstand me. Thinking is important. Planning is also important. Learning from our mistakes is also important. I'm not asking you to stop thinking. I'm asking you to notice the difference between thinking and going round and round in circles. There is a huge difference. Here is a question I started asking myself whenever I catch my mind running in circles. I simply ask, is this thought helping me make a decision, or is it just making me more afraid? That one question changes everything. It changes your perception. Because useful thinking usually ends with an action, and overthinking usually ends with another worry. Think about the last time you solved a real problem. Maybe your car broke down, maybe you had a deadline at work, maybe your child wasn't feeling well. You probably didn't spend 6 hours imagining every possible disaster. You gathered information, you made a decision, then you took the next step. That's problem solving. But overthinking is different. It keeps asking the same question without ever accepting an answer, and that becomes too exhausting. Now, can I ask you to try another small exercise? Yes, my videos are full of exercises. So the next time you are worrying about something, take a piece of paper. Draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write what I know. On the right side, write what I am assuming. So to make it simple, let's use an example. Your friend hasn't replied to your message. So on the left side, you write what I know, that my friend hasn't replied for 6 hours. That's a fact. On the right side, under what I am assuming, you might write they are upset with me, they don't want to talk to me, I must have said something wrong. Now can you see the difference? One side contains facts, the other side contains guesses, and you're trying to put reasons to it. And here's the interesting part. Most overthinking happens on the right side of the paper, not on the left. This exercise sounds simple, but don't underestimate it. Sometimes seeing your thoughts written down helps you realize how much of your stress is coming from assumptions rather than reality. Now there's another pattern I have noticed. Overthinkers often ask the wrong question. They keep asking why. Why did they say that? Why am I like this? Why does this always happen to me? But the problem is, most why questions don't move us forward. They pull us deeper into the same circle. So instead of asking why, try asking what now? What can I do now? What do I need now? What's one small step I can take today? Notice how different that feels. One question keeps you trapped in the past, and the other gently brings you back to the present. And that's where your power is. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today, this moment. Can I tell you something personal? There was a time when I believed that if I worried enough, I could stop bad things from happening. It sounds strange, maybe superstitious when I say it out loud, but I think many of us do this without realizing it. We think worrying somehow prepares us or protects us. But when I look back at my life, I realize something. The difficult moments that really mattered were never solved by worrying, they were solved by showing up. One step at a time, one decision at a time, one conversation at a time. And that's when I stopped asking, how do I stop overthinking? Instead, I started asking, how do I become someone who trusts themselves a little more? Because if you trust yourself, you don't need to predict every possible future. You simply trust that whatever happens, you'll deal with it when it arrives. And that's a much more peaceful way to live. Before we move on, I want you to do one more thing today. Many homeworks. The next time you notice yourself thinking about the same problem for the 10th time, pause. Take one small breath. I'm giving you a leverage of 10 times, okay? So take one small breath. Then ask yourself, is there anything I can actually do about this right now? If the answer is yes, take the smallest possible step. Send the email, make the phone call, book the appointment, write the first sentence. But if the answer is no, give yourself permission to let it rest for today. Not forever, just for today. Because carrying a problem every minute of the day doesn't solve it faster. It only makes today harder to enjoy. So just put it aside just for today. So two things you have to do, yes and no. And in the next part, I want to talk about something that completely changed the way I deal with anxious thoughts. It isn't a breathing technique, it isn't meditation. It's one simple shift in perspective that has brought me more peace than almost anything else I have learned. And I have a feeling it might do the same for you. So now we come to part 3. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you are enjoying this part. Let's come to the peace you are looking for isn't where you have been searching. So yes, can I ask you one last question before we move ahead? What if the goal isn't to stop overthinking? But what if the real goal is to stop believing that every thought deserves your 100% attention, your commitment, your sincerity, your loyalty, your devotion? Think about that for a moment. Because for years I believed my mind. If my mind said something is wrong, I believed it. If it said they are probably upset with you, I believed it. If it said you are not ready, I believed that too. I never stopped to ask. Now, is my mind telling me the truth or is it simply trying to protect me? These are two different things we have already discussed. And once I understood that, something started to change, little by little. I stopped treating every thought like an emergency that I have to pause everything else in my life and just keep thinking about that. I started treating thoughts like suggestions. Some were useful, some weren't. And I realized just because a thought enters my mind doesn't mean it deserves to stay there. So I chose to let go those which were not serving me. And can I tell you something that might surprise you? The people who seem calm all the time don't have fewer thoughts than you. They simply have a different relationship with their thoughts. They don't argue with every thought. They don't chase every fear. They don't try to solve tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. They have learned something that took me years to understand. Peace does not come from controlling your thoughts. Peace comes from choosing which thoughts deserve your energy. That one sentence changed my life. Peace comes from choosing which thoughts deserve your energy. And here is something I would like you to try tomorrow morning. Before you pick up your phone, before emails, before social media, sit quietly for just 1 minute. Ask yourself, what's one thing that's on my mind today? Just one. Now ask, can I do something about it today? If the answer is yes, write down the very first step. Not the whole plan, just the first step. Maybe again, I told you, one phone call, one email, one conversation, and then go ahead and do it. But If the answer is no, if there is absolutely nothing you can do today about that particular thought, then you can ask yourself another question. What would I like to give my attention to instead? Maybe it's your family, maybe it's your work, maybe it's your health, maybe it's enjoying a cup of tea without your mind dragging you somewhere else. Because here is something I've learned: your attention is one of the most valuable things you own. Where you place it, that's where your life slowly grows. I also want to say something to the people who have been overthinking for years. Please don't be angry with yourself. I've met so many people who say, I can't believe I'm still doing this. What's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. Your mind learned a habit, that's all about it. And habits can be replaced, they can be changed. They cannot be changed by fighting. You can't change them by fighting them, but by practicing something different every single day, even if it's only for 5 minutes. Progress doesn't happen because one day everything suddenly changes. Progress happens because today you worried for 30 minutes instead of 3 hours. Tomorrow maybe it's 20 minutes. Next month maybe it's 10. That's still progress. Celebrate it because your brain notices progress, and when it notices progress, it becomes easier to keep going. Now, before we wrap up, can I leave you with one thought that's helped me more than almost anything else? Whenever my mind starts racing, I ask myself, will this thought matter a year from now? Sometimes the answer is yes. If it is, I deal with it. But most of the time the answer is no. And it's amazing how many worries lose their power when you look at them through that question. And before we finish, I want you to remember something. You are not your worst thought. You are not your last mistake. You are not the scary story your mind created at 2 o'clock in the morning. You are the person who gets to decide which thoughts deserve a seat at your table. And that's a decision you can make every single day. Just do it intentionally. And before you leave, I would really love to hear from you. Write one sentence in the comments. Today I am letting go of blank. Maybe it's one fear, one worry, one habit, one story you've been carrying for far too long. You never know. Your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And if these conversations make you feel understood, if they help you slow down and look at life a little differently, I would love for you to become part of the Diviine Gracia family. Subscribe to the channel, share this video with someone who has a mind that never seems to switch off, and come back next week, because next time we are going to talk about something that quietly steals happiness from millions of people every single day, and that is comparison. Why do we compare ourselves with everyone else, even when we know it makes us unhappy? And more importantly, how do we finally stop? I think that's a conversation every one of us needs. Until then, take care of yourself. Good care of yourself. Be a little kinder to your own mind. And remember this, your mind will always create thoughts, but you don't have to build your life around every one of them. I'll see you in the next conversation. Till then, see you. Diviine Gracia, Mawsome here, signing off.